Well, let's jump in, guys. Thank you all for being here. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about Tennessee Achieves progress, and we will specifically discuss what's happening in Jefferson County. This is meant to be a conversation, not merely a presentation. So please feel free at any point to interrupt me, to ask questions, to receive any sort of clarification. Again, as I said from the very beginning, I'm very sad that we can't all be together, but still think it's incredibly important that we continue to be transparent about our progress and continue to lean into the localness of our work, because this is, while statewide, it is very important to me that we continue to think about what's best for Jefferson County students, which probably does not hold true for every community across the state. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. My name's Krissy DeAlejandro, the Executive Director of Tennessee Achieves. One of my bosses, my longtime boss now, really my only boss that I've ever had in the professional space, is also joining us, former Knox County Mayor Mike Ragsdale. So Mayor, please feel free to jump in at any point as well.
Will do, and thanks for everybody for helping with this great program that has such an impact across our state.
Absolutely. So just a quick reminder to ground the work. Tennessee Achieves, unbeknownst to many, is actually not a state entity. We're a separate nonprofit that raises dollars privately for operations. We do work in partnership with the state to ensure that our 60,000 plus high school seniors every year are meeting critical milestones to ensure that they transition from high school to post-secondary and have Tennessee Promise as an option. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around the fact that in 2008, we had 493 applicants to our Knox Achieves launch. And now we've worked with almost 450,000 students across the state, and we've recruited nearly 72,000 volunteer mentors to work alongside our students to provide encouragement and to be that someone in their corner that many of our students need. To continue to think about the work at Tennessee Achieves, yes, we do work to ensure that students have access to the last dollar scholarship opportunity provided by Tennessee Promise. But again, we're so much more than that. As I said, every year we recruit at least 9,000 volunteers to serve as mentors. Returning to this idea of localness, it's incredibly important to us that our students feel supported by individuals within their community, people that know them, that see them, that also understand the dynamic of their high school or their community and where they're coming from. And our mentors are truly the heart of what we do. We could not do this very large lift on an annual basis without them. We also, from the very beginning, have had a robust community service initiative. The idea of cultivating a culture of giving back within our students has been a key component of our work. It's my favorite part, considering now we do allow a job shadowing component to our community service. So if you want to go into nursing, you can spend those 8 hours shadowing a nurse to decide if this is in fact the career you want to pursue. And so we love that specific part of community service at Tennessee Achieves. Early in our Knox Achieves days, we identified a remediation challenge. Back then, about 80% of our students required some form of remediation, typically math. Now that's been reduced to the low 60s, but still remains an ongoing challenge for our students who are pursuing a post-secondary credential. And we wanted to make a dent in that universe. And so we lifted up a summer bridge program, a 3-week academic boot camp designed specifically for students who require remediation. That program has been in existence since 2012 and is now being offered at 17 locations across the state, serving students, again, typically in the month of July, to ensure that they are more academically prepared for post-secondary work. We built a summer institute in the Memphis urban core. It's sort of summer institute on steroids. So it is actually a credit-bearing program designed for those students who require English, reading, and math remediation. They also receive wraparound supports during this time. I am happy to report that this year we had a 100% success rate with that program. All the students who participated completely eliminated remediation and left with 9 credit hours starting in the fall. So they started ahead as opposed to behind. And if there is a silver bullet in education, this one feels like one, and something that we're hoping to replicate across the state. And then finally, under that summer bucket, we also created a homegrown online summer bridge program this year for students who did not feel comfortable going on to college campuses. And that program also had an overwhelming amount of success. So all programs combined have an 88% success rate, with students either testing out of remediation or dramatically improving their test scores. My favorite component, though, is we survey the students at the beginning of the program. 15% at the beginning said that they felt prepared for college. And when we ended the program, 3 weeks later, 97% said they felt prepared. And so we got to work on the last 3, but just an overwhelming amount of success from that program. And finally, several years ago, because the data continued to show us that if you are economically disadvantaged, you are more likely to leave the post-secondary pipeline than your higher income peers. And so we launched a proactive coaching model. Megan on my team is a complete coach, specifically assigned to Jefferson County students. And so they work tirelessly to ensure that all the hurdles that often exist for our students are knocked down in an effort to increase the percentage of students earning a post-secondary credential. And we do all this at a 90,000 students annually scale, because we can provide really targeted and specific communication to our students, which truly has become the backbone of our work. So to think about reach, 90 counties, 74 are considered rural, 35 at risk or distressed counties falling in under the tnAchieves umbrella, and we serve 601 high schools. 67 colleges are eligible for the Tennessee Promise Scholarship, and you can see here the overwhelming majority of our students, no surprise, landing at one of our local community colleges, although 11% are going to one of 27 TCATs, or Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology, across the state. And 10% of our students are taking advantage of, Carson Newman has this, right in your backyard, an associate's degree program offered at a 4-year institution. And those programs are seeing an overwhelming amount of success for our students. As I said, 90,000 students total, but we work with about 60,000 high school seniors every year. It continues to blow me away that 89% of the state's high school seniors come through the tnAchieves program every year. So like zooming out and thinking about the fact that nearly 90% of every student during their high school senior year is touched by tnAchieves in some way is truly mind-blowing. We also comprise 78% of first-time, full-time freshmen at our state's 13 community colleges. And even better, 86% of the community college graduates are tnAchieves students. So truly needle-moving kind of work. I think that's why these numbers are so important. 56% of our students are considered economically disadvantaged. 40% identify, like me and like the mayor, as the first person in their family to go to college. And I love the 51%, and I will tell you, we pulled this just in the last 2 weeks. I presented to the National Science Board, and they asked what percentage of our students were majoring in STEM or health-related fields. And I was actually a little surprised at how high the percentage was, with 27% of that 51% majoring in a health-related field. And I love that, considering what we continue to hear from our workforce friends, that there's a nursing shortage, right? And so our students are going into the right fields to have a wage-sustaining career long-term. $32 million spent annually on Tennessee Promise scholarships, with tnAchieves raising an additional $2.5 million. for our annual operating budget. All right, so digging in specifically to Jefferson County, you guys are killing it in the FAFSA completion space. You can see here 88% FAFSA completion. This is 100% because the entire state pulls in the same direction for FAFSA completion. Tennessee continues to lead the country in this space. To benchmark, most states don't hit 50%, and our state is at 86%. And so truly a remarkable milestone and something that we should celebrate. Jefferson County has an amazing counseling and K-12 leadership team, and that is the reason behind that 88%. Again, just game changing, something that is truly a barrier for students across the country is no more for the overwhelming majority of our students in Tennessee. You can also see, as I said, robust community service program under the Tennessee Achieves umbrella. To date, our students have given back 3.4 million hours of community service. Randy Boyd, who is our board chair, calls us the largest community service organization in the state. I don't actually know if that's true in full disclosure, but no one has told me otherwise yet. So we're running with the accolade for now. You can see specifically in Jefferson County, students have given just over 25,000 hours of community service, which is quite large just in one community alone. All right, let's dig into some more Jefferson County numbers. You can see here, Tennessee Promise application every year, Jefferson County hitting that high 90s, almost 100% of students applying for Tennessee Promise. It's culture changing, right? To say that every student has an opportunity to go somewhere. This is for many students their plan A, but if it is also their plan B, we are thankful for school leadership for providing that runway for every student. Of the 457, 163 of the students enrolled with Tennessee Promise. So keep in mind, if the student landed at the University of Tennessee or ETSU, that would not be reflected in that 163, but wanted to let you know that that translation from application to enrolled. Most of your students are going to Walters State, no surprise there. First year retention rate, we need to work on this in Jefferson County, 59 versus a 67% statewide. Although you are outpacing us from a statewide 3-year graduation rate average at 36% versus 35%. We do believe strategies like coaching, which we're hoping to expand, are game changers in this space. We have data, which I will dig into in a bit, that shows that having that coach throughout your journey, which is only offered currently to 14% of Tennessee Promise students, can be a difference maker in terms of retention and completion. So a few more numbers to think about. If you're at a community college, your retention rate is 53% right now, right? So 53% of students returning after their first year. If you are a Tennessee Achieves student at a community college, that jumps to 67%. And if you are a Tennessee Achieves student at any college, that retention rate jumps to 74%. So again, this program and all the supports that it provides matters and is moving the needle. I will also say that we have a 51% 6-year graduation rate as opposed to the state average of 35% for community college students. I will be honest with you, 51% keeps me up at night. I know we can do better than that, but we've certainly come a long way since we had this idea back when I worked in Mayor Ragsdale's office, when I can tell you the 3-year graduation rate was 14%. So again, we've come a long way since 2008. Just a really quick review, summer programs that we discussed earlier have increased retention by 34%. The coaching model has increased first year retention by 23%. And Knox Promise, a model that I am currently working tirelessly to take across the state, really is a dream college success program pilot We are able to offer this program thanks to the Haslam Family Foundation, but every student receives a coach. So right now, as I said, only a handful, a small percentage of students have a coach. Every student in Knox County has a dedicated coach. They also have access to what we refer to as completion grant funding, which is typically called emergency aid. But these students who are utilizing both have a fall to fall retention of 78%. So like game changing kind of numbers here. So that increase in retention of 42% and something we're currently working to scale across the state. So here's the really sombering slide, guys, that I feel like is our call to action at this point. I don't know that in my 13 years of doing this work, there was ever a more critical time to be all hands on deck. You can see all the progress that was made with Tennessee Promise. We lost with the class of 2020 because of COVID. And I will tell you from what I'm hearing from my college president friends, I think we're going to hold steady. I'm hoping we at least hold steady and it is not worse for the 2021 cohort. You can see in Jefferson County alone, you had an 8% drop in your college going rate because of COVID. Again, for me, this is a sombering number, but also very much an urgent call to action. How can we be helpful? That is a question I have for you that we can talk about in a bit. What can we do to ensure that your students understand the value of college, but also feel as if they have a clutter-free path, if you will, to a college degree. So we can talk about this now, but let me get through the last 3 slides and then I will open it up to the floor for any thoughts there. You know, one of the ways that we know it's a difference maker is to continue to work on mentor recruitment. Mentors in 2022 will have the same role to be that someone in the student's corner who we know can be huge difference makers. I had a mentor over the weekend that I was communicating with all day Saturday, was trying to get a student enrolled into a TCAT. So again, a huge piece of the puzzle is being that resource and that encourager. We did invest quite a bit of time and resource into Tennessee Achieves Connect, a platform that I personally love. I still mentor every year. And the fact that all my student information is in one place for me to go and actually track progress has been huge. I've also spent quite a bit of time video chatting students and mamas through the platform. So I love the fact that it's all in one place. That will be offered to every mentor with the class of 2022. We are also working with our college partners to lift up open houses this year. So mentors and students will not meet at the high school, but actually on the college campus to have a meaningful interaction where we're hoping the students land in college. So we're really excited about those. Those will happen in March and April. So we'll get all those dates out to our mentors. And then finally, encouraging mentors and students to meet one-on-one. Our mentors have been doing this always, but we've never really promoted it. So as long as they're in public and they're not being in the car with a mentor, we are going to encourage this as a practice this year. So lots of new things coming with the 2022 cohort that we're really excited about. Application is open now and will close on December 3rd. You can see here 69 mentors needed in Jefferson County to meet student demand. And again, I know there are several on this Zoom who have mentored for many years and who continue to help us find what we need. So as a final thought, next steps, become a mentor, promote mentorship to your friends and your family and to your church members and far and wide in Jefferson County. Second step could be to share the Tennessee Achieves story with your friends, specifically around where we are in college going. It feels to me very much like the house is on fire. And so we all have a role to play to ensure that students in future years, again, see that value in pursuing a post-secondary credential. And then finally, the application is live for those students and we'll close on November 1st. So we're already working on, we just enrolled yesterday, the class of 21 in college, and we're already working on the class of 2022 to ensure that they are meeting those critical application deadlines. This is my contact information. I am always available to answer any questions that you may have, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up to any thoughts or questions that you may have. Mayor, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I think you're right. This program has been a really strong success. We need to keep it going in this direction. The information you shared about the coaching and the mentoring, I think, is key to keeping it going forward. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of people. John, thank you so much for your leadership ongoing over all these years. I saw where Mayor Potts jumped on board. He is a strong education proponent and has done a wonderful job as well. And for each of you who are on the call, thank you. This is something, a program that evolves. It's changed dramatically since we initiated it. And the evolution has occurred because of folks like you who are participating in this call today. Your thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and leaderships are paramount moving us forward. So finally, Krissy, thanks to you and to Megan and to your team for making this work so well in Tennessee. You know, a lot of times we look for things that just change people's direction in bulk. I don't think it works that way. I think it works individual to individual. And for a large program, this initiative is still successful because of that philosophy. So I will be quiet now and let everyone else share any thoughts that they may have. But again, thanks for being on the call today.
Thanks, Mayor. Any questions, any comments or thoughts?
Krissy, what are some thoughts on, I mean, are we attributing the college going drop just to COVID, or are there some other things at play that we need to be looking out for in Jefferson County that might, be reflected in state trends?
Yeah, John, honestly, what we're hearing is COVID. I think it was all the uncertainty around in-person classes versus virtual classes. If you remember with that 2020 cohort, everyone really pulled out in March, and that's really the time when a lot of school counselors poured gasoline on getting students ready for post-secondary. And we just lost them over the summer, quite frankly. And so I will tell you, in about December of 2020, with this current cohort, I brought my senior team together and I said, this feels worse to me than where we were in 2020. There's again, just sort of a lack of fire in their belly. They're just very, I think, nervous. A lot of them are working much more than they were prior to the pandemic too. And so when you layer all those things on, and we continue to hear, especially in rural communities, West Tennessee specifically, John, so I don't know if this holds true in Jefferson County, that places like Home Depot were offering like $15 an hour for students to come and work. And that was a big draw away. They're like, listen, I'm making $15 an hour. I'm going to postpone college. And so I think, yes, it's all somehow related to COVID, but not just fear. I think it was just all these, sort of interrelated factors as well.
Is that something we could, and this is for the group, and it may not be appropriate, so I don't want to come across as being insensitive or inappropriate, but is that something, is the COVID something we could leverage, the advantage of Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Achieves to staying local and going local, as an alternative to going out of state or things like that? Is it something that we could actually turn to our advantage this year? Or not? Okay, I'll just do that out there.
I do think incentivizing, John, here's what we are hearing from students, because, we talk to students every day. And what we're hearing from students is, again, I keep saying this value proposition, but they don't really see the tie in why it's important right now. With all the other things going on, why is it important? So I think promoting local, promoting how critical it is for their long-term success, right? And maybe not thinking about the right now, piece of that, all of that, I think is incredibly important. I am hoping, our plan is to be back into high schools later this fall. I'm hoping like seeing humans actually like excited and talking about college. Not that that's not happening in the high schools. Again, I can't say enough good things about school counselors, but maybe someone else talking to them and sharing with them how important this is a value add.
I agree with that, because I continue to hear from our students. I mean, when they hear it from me or one of our counselors, it's kind of like, okay, that's our job. We're supposed to encourage you, but when people like Ms. Blevins or Ms. Moyers or Mayor Potts or Mayor Ragsdale, people who have done it and who have come back together, that seems to have a lot of weight. So, one of the things I'm going to try to focus on is recruiting more professional mentors outside of the school system, because it seems to be more impactful than, they're almost disappointed when they get me as a mentor. Oh, I see you every day, or, I've known you for 4 years. But, when you can get those professionals and those people who, have either worked at post-secondary or worked in professional settings, it really seems to be impactful, at least here in Jefferson County with our kids.
Do you think that outside mentorship really matters, John? Although I would be excited if you were my mentor, record.
I've had you fooled for years. So.
I don't know. I've met many people that have as much energy as you do, so I appreciate that. Well, if there are no other questions, I want to keep.
I have a really quick question. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The Tennessee Connect has been amazing this year to get in touch with students that we mentor. Is there, like, in the future, are you guys maybe looking at the kids being able to get that as an app? So then instead of them having to go to their computer, then they can just pull it up on their phone. So it'll be quicker and easier for them to get in touch with us and us to get in touch with them.
That's a great question, Crystal, and something that we're hoping to build into our budget for future years. So it's not a lack of wanting that. It's just making sure that we have the resources to fund it. But yes, definitely on our radar to make it much easier for students to access. But that's great feedback. I appreciate that so much. Well, thank you all again. It's always fun to be in Jefferson County, even if it's virtually. So I appreciate all of you, and truly know that none of this would be possible without all of you. I am continue to be humbled at how many continue to show up for our state's students. So thank you very much from a human being who deeply believes in the role that you are playing to advance student achievement. So thank you again.
Thank you. Everybody have a great day.
Happy Tuesday.